Buenos dias.
One of the highlights for me of being in Nicaragua is always the opportunity to interact with the children. Being a gym teacher at heart, I love being with the kids and playing with them and doing whatever. So we did a lot of interacting with the children. We did vacation Bible school, I guess you would call it that, for 2 days. And it was divided because there were so many children in the church. We divided it into the younger kids and then the older kids. So, and then it was a structured activity, like in the morning, in the beginning of it, we always had music. There was an elderly couple, well, not elderly.
They were the oldest.
They were a year older than me, so yeah, that were in charge of the music presentations, and they had done a little play, and it was with sock puppets, and we had sheep in it, and it was, I don't remember the story. Yeah, it was in Spanish, so I don't really remember the story. But they had all these little hand puppets. They had actually made a stage and brought it on the airplane with them, so that they could do this play for the kids. And it's like any group of children, you know. Some of them are really involved, and then you get the other ones that they see you have a camera in your hand. They know. They want their picture taken. They don't ever get them, but they like to look at them, you know, and see what they looked like. So after we did the singing and the music and the play and whatever the speaking part was about, we would then break into groups where they had a craft project that they did, and then they also did games. Of course, I stayed with the games, and they are so competitive. It's no different than anybody else, and soccer is the big sport. Alex decided he'd even join the big guys and go out and play soccer with them on the lovely, lovely dirt field with rocks and
Lots of rocks.
and animals
Things.
crossing over. It was a big dust bowl is what it was, and it had to be 110. I thought we were going to have to revive him, but he hung in there. Did you score a goal?
And we won.
Yes. Well, they have a team like from the school that they play with. There's the schools. Speaking of schools, there are 4 major NRN schools in Nicaragua. Now, to go to school in Nicaragua, you have to be able to have uniforms, and you have to be able to buy your books. It's not like a free system. So some of the families have money, and they provide for their children, but there's others that don't have money, like most of the people that you see in our pictures up here. I don't think one of them even would have been able just to pay for their child to go to school. So that's why they, in the group from LaGrange, they have a lot of sponsor people who had children that they were going there to visit, and they'd bring them stuff, and they checked up on how they were doing in school. And there's two separate school times also. The primary kids go to school in the morning at 7, so they go from 7 until noon, and then the secondary school kids come in later. They come in like around 12 and stay until 5 or 5:30 because they don't have enough space to have 2 schools, and there's not a lot of teachers. So they have 2 very special schools that are run by the NRN. About 10 years or maybe a little more ago, they discovered that the NRN discovered a need for handicapped first challenged children who were handicapped or mentally needed help and different diseases or whatever. So they have a special education program that really is phenomenal. They were the first one in the country to start that, and they followed through, and they now have a second school that offers that programming for students with special needs. And that's one of the schools even has an equine program. They have the horses that come in, and there's a trainer or a worker that knows what to do with the horses. And that was just really interesting. And we saw the library at that school, and they're building one with the books that we had for the other one. So there's basically 4 schools, but they're not all NRN. Some of them are regular kids too. So when you sponsor a child, just so you know, they get 2 uniforms, they get a meal a day, they get health care, they have a doctor is associated with the program. They have all sorts of help that goes along with the program. They also have to take tests, 4 tests a year to pass to the next grade. So, of course, that's an opportunity to make money for the government. So they charge money for all the tests, and that's also covered in the sponsorship, along with everything else. We had probably, for me, because I've been there before, it was a little different this time, but I know my friend Melinda that also went with us has sponsors a child in Nicaragua who is a special needs child. And she's been sleeping in a hammock hanging in the middle of the living room, basically, and had requested she would really like a bed. She's like 13 or 14 now, so she was getting
the
like
photos.
Oh.
That's the hammock.
There's the hammock, and that's her sister. And so Melinda, as her sponsor, said, yes, I'll buy her a bed. So the pastor at the church happens to make beds. That's his little sideline, metalwork. So Melinda bought a bed from him and got all the things you need. Like she got little princess sheets for the bed and all, really cute little girly stuff. And Pastor Alex helped put the bed together when we went to visit him. So her family was one of the lucky ones who NRN had built a home for. And they build cinder block homes, and it has water and electricity. But then whatever else they do is up to them. So the bed was set up, and she was in it. I wasn't sure she was ever going to get out. She even said her sister could stay in it with her. So she was sharing. And the other, at that same place, Melinda found out that Nettie's sister had had a baby, and that they had named the baby Melinda Nicole, which is Melinda's name. So they named the baby after Nettie's sponsor. So it was a very touching afternoon at that home, or morning, I guess it was. And I guess I just ask that you continue to pray for everyone in Nicaragua. Oh, I have to tell you about my Rudy, though. We did get to go to Tipitapa, which is where I've been before, and Rudy is a special needs child who they don't have a school in that area for that, but he's very, very shy, and he's peeking in through the grate on the door, and finally Pastor Pedro said, okay, let him in. So he came in, and he just sort of hung around in the corner, but he kept looking because I had a ball with me for him. And he just kept looking, So finally, I said, come on. So he came over, and I gave him the ball, and we played ball for a long time. But that was, to me, that was so exciting, because the first time I met Rudy, he wouldn't even talk. He doesn't talk, but he didn't look at anybody. He wouldn't come near you. And when you threw him the ball the first time, a couple years ago, he would just hold it and run away. He wouldn't share it with anybody. So this time, he was actively participating and sharing. So to me, that was a growth, and it made me feel very good. Thank you.
Amen.